Hey loves, I'm Dove, and today I'm talking about scapegoating. You may be familiar with the term of scapegoating, and maybe you experienced it yourself at one time or another, or witnessed it happening. At the core, term scapegoat originated from a Bible where an animal was sent to the wilderness as a sacrifice to purify people's sins. And it means the blame carried by the person that is not theirs. And our society functions. Uh, it's a person who is carrying blame of people who are usually lack of responsibility. And it can be in the work dynamic, family dynamic, larger societal concepts. And for some examples, we see and probably us ourselves can find in situations when something in our society is not running right, or there is a crime or laws that we are not, you know, happy with, and there's a problems that, are being fixed. People often tend to blame a person from the highest position in the government to blame them for that, either not fixing the issue or creating the issue because they are in a high rank of position of power. That's so common, and believe me, I sometimes even as jokingly find myself, used to at least, find myself even jokingly saying that certain politician is the root cause of all problems. Oh, especially if the individual also is a character, or if you don't like them, especially. And in the work environments, that can look like a person as well, or if there is problems occurring, issues within the work, and people not taking responsibility, avoiding responsibility, and those problems piling up and becoming bigger. Therefore, rather than looking at what is the core issue of the recurring problem and fixing that, and going to the people or individuals or systems that are responsible for that not to happen, usually there can be a scapegoat as well created to deflect that responsibility. And how people become scapegoats, that's the important question. And one interesting note is to mention that scapegoating is a tool used by a very simple-minded people. People who either lack self-accountability, emotional intelligence, or lack mental capacity to see the complexity of the situations at hand. Therefore, it's easier to overgeneralize everything and take the pile of problems instead of fixing them, putting the blame on someone who might have been the, you know, the cause of it or the reason of it, even though it's absolutely not reasonable. But it makes people feel better about themselves, and it makes people feel better about the issues that they find difficult to handle. Coming from a personal experience, I found myself being scapegoated quite a lot of times, and especially it coming from the family dynamics that I came from, that was quite chaotic and toxic in many ways, with quite simple-minded people who lacked responsibility for own actions, or found challenging to see how their actions or lack of action therefore how affect environment and their own life. And therefore, me being a more intelligent child in the family, and with who have more awareness towards high awareness of the situation at hand, and detail oriented, and having being able to pinpoint what's causing what, and making, having ability to put the dots, all the missing dots, and seeing where the root cause is, and calling out, who's responsible for that. And personally, that is quite challenging to situations and people who, find difficult to have that, hold that personal accountability and change and showing up to the occasion, problems not to happen, because sometimes chaos or drama or having someone to blame, shift the blame, it's easier rather than fixing issues. Peace and things working out well can be actually not so desirable for people. People might say that they want peace, may say that they want everything working out, but if there is internal chaos going on within people or in their mindset, and then they have those devils, demons within them, having chaos, having problems outside of them, or creating them intentionally or not, and having the scapegoat for that is quite serving some people. And the scapegoat is the one who is usually, seeing the reality, seeing the truth, and calling out the issue, calling out the elephant in the room for it to be seen. And that person can be dangerous, and therefore scapegoating is one way to deflect that blame or guilt that people carry. And that can happen in within the groups. People can intentionally or not group up together and take that one person as a scapegoat. How to not become a scapegoat if you are a truth teller? Well, it's always important to tend to facts. If you are a truth speaker, like I am quite often, can't help it. Know when to stay silent, but I know when to speak as well. And when I'm called to speak, I have to. And when you are a truth speaker, make sure that you tend to facts. And when you find yourself scapegoated, make sure you journal and tend to reality of the situation. Don't go into dynamics where you possibly can be gaslighted, and don't engage in that. Always tend to facts and reality. And if there is emotional manipulation, you know, victim blaming, um, some other forms of emotional defensiveness is coming from people as well, understand that a lot of issues are not yours, and you're not the one to carry someone else's burdens, unresolved emotional issues, or lack of accountability, or simply excusing themselves that they are incapable or not there. Don't tend to people's games. Always, tend to your garden, and don't carry the burdens of other people's issues, because that's also karma. And the way people act, that creates certain karma for them. And therefore, when we carry other people's, as I say, problems, or try to save them quite a few times for their lack of showing up to their life, um, that can, you can start carrying their karma as well. So it's important to know when there is the right place for you to step in and help, and knowing that when people really want to change and really want help and they really need that, or when people just simply deflecting their own part of taking responsibility or accountability in certain situations. That's very important. So, and if you are finding yourself in the situations where you are scapegoated, and if that's challenging, from my point of view and my experience, I find the best is to leave those situations and dynamics if you can, and tend to reality and defend yourself by setting reasonable, assertive boundaries of saying no and saying yes to what feels right to you. And know that you don't have to carry other people's burdens, even if they say so. So take care of yourself. Always stay grounded. Bye.